Hey everyone, so a question I'm commonly asked is how do I read so many books? So today I'm going to share some tips around how I read. To do this, I'm going to use an example of a book I read this week, which was Empowered by Marty Kagan, a book about product management. The reason I'm using this example is this book is 81 chapters long, and my Kindle said it would take 9 hours to read. So I thought this was a great example to use given the length and depth of this particular book. So the first tip is that when you purchase a book on Kindle, what's interesting is that it fast forwards to the first chapter often when you open up the book. Now, the first thing to do is actually to go back to the table of contents. Always read the table of contents for a book because that gives you a good compass around what this book is about. What I do then is when I read through the table of contents, I will look for chapters or ideas that are relevant to challenges or problems that I'm facing now. And what I'll do is I'll tend to jump straight to that chapter. So I won't read the book in a linear order. So in the example of Marty's book, what I did is I jumped straight to chapter 41, which was around team design, team topologies. And the reason for that is that's a challenge and kind of topic that I'm interested in right now. So what I did is I jumped straight to chapter 41. And what I'll do then is I'll generally sort of skim through that chapter looking for insights that are relevant or might be helpful. And where this is particularly helpful is then within the first 10 minutes of reading the book, it's often that I've already found an insight that is valuable to me. And this is really important when building a reading habit is to make it satisfying. So immediately within 10 minutes, if all I did was read for that period of time, I've already got some value from the book. What I'll do then is I'll generally go back to the table of contents again, and I'll kind of repeat this pattern multiple times, which means if I extend that over an hour, I've already got 4 or 5 good insights about the book. And perhaps after the hour, I feel like I've got everything I need from the book, or perhaps I'll continue reading on and on. So that's a really key way to really maximize the value from your reading time. Now, in terms of how I create book summaries, now there's a particular highlighting approach that I use. Within Kindle, the really great thing is you can actually highlight directly into the Kindle book. And there's 5 things I'm generally looking for when I do my highlights. One are sentences or kind of paragraphs that represent the big ideas of the book. Secondly, I'm looking for any kind of standout quotes or even quotes from the author as referenced. I'm also looking for lists. So often within books, there's lists of here's the 3 ways to do this, or here's the 5 principles. And what I'll generally do is highlight those lists. The other thing I'll be doing is looking for actions or takeaways that the author themselves recommend. So often authors suggest kind of takeaways or things you can do. So I'll be looking for those too. And then the final thing I'm really looking for are references to other books. So are there good references or ideas of other books that I could read after reading this one? What I do then is I use a tool called readwise.io, which basically integrates to my Kindle, which means as soon as I create these highlights, they're automatically pulled out of my Kindle, and using readwise.io, they get imported into Notion, which is a note-taking tool. You may be familiar with things like Evernote. Notion is a similar tool. So it basically exports my notes into my notebook automatically. And then what I do to create the book summary is think of these kind of highlights as pieces of the puzzle. What I'll generally do is kind of put them together in a kind of interesting order. I'll look for the key ideas, the best quotes, and then I'll write a sort of summary of my takeaways and the things that I learned from the book. So hopefully that's helpful for you in terms of your own reading habit. As you can see, it's not complicated, and if you focus on keeping it easy, over time you'll be able to build a really robust and regular reading habit, which will allow you to learn. And the final point is really around the idea about reading is not to read as many books as you can, but to get as many insights that can help you be effective in the world.